Is the Nuggets winning, making the Clippers' loss to them look better? Welcome in. I'm Adam Osland. It is a late night Clippers talk after dark as the Denver Nuggets are about to go up 2-1 on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'm here to talk about it. I got my new headset. I think it's working okay. I wanted to test this bad boy out also because it allows me to talk very quietly, but I can still hear myself, even with the fact that I'm going deaf. So I asked a question a little bit earlier on X, and I want to ask you guys the very same thing. I'll bring it up here. Clipper Nation, this is interesting. Man, all those people that kept saying, why do you say the Nuggets have championship pedigree when they only won one time? How can they have championship pedigree? They only won once. Told you. They do. It's true. This is what you're saying. I said it before the series. Now I'm saying it in the second round, with Denver now up 2-1 on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So here's the question, Clipper Nation. If the Nuggets make this a long series or actually win it against OKC, would that change your perception of how this Clippers season ended? This is what I'm asking you. Because to me, if you lose to a Denver team that goes on to the NBA Finals or something, there's just definitely less shame in losing to that team. Because I can tell you, a lot of people told me why it hurt so much to lose to Denver was because, well, they're in disarray. They fired their head coach and GM. How can you lose to that team? How? This is interesting. Last year, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks. They went to the NBA Finals. Is the same thing about to happen again? The team that beat the Clippers in the first round is going to get to the finals? Pump the brakes. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. I know. But now people who are saying we want Denver are now saying it sucks we got Denver in the first round. Trust me, I know a lot of people. It wasn't just dime droppers saying, bring me Denver. Bring me the Nuggets. It wasn't just him. Many people said it. So now that they're up 2-1 against the best team in the league, and I've already taken home court advantage away from OKC in this series, things just got a lot more interesting with how I look back on the Clippers losing to the Denver Nuggets. Even if they don't win the series, but if it goes 6 or 7, and it's going 6, I think at least. I don't think they're going to take OKC out in 5. So that would mean it's going at least 6. Uh, this ain't nothing. I told a buddy who was like, Denver came back to earth in game 2 against Oklahoma City. That's more the trajectory of this series. I was like, I don't think so. I don't think that at all. They got game 1. They weren't supposed to get game 1 against Oklahoma City. Remember, Denver was coming in off one day of rest, off a grueling series against the Clippers. They weren't supposed to be able to get game 1. They did. Maybe they got a little bit complacent after that, but and that led to them losing and being down by 50 or whatever it was. Shadow, what did you do? Oh, what happened to my desktop? These cats taking over my life. Just chill and be furry and cute. You ain't got to press buttons on the keyboard like this. What just happened? How does my screen go off because you touched the keyboard? What button does that? I can deal with that afterwards, I guess. Deca Fantastic says, Adam, I love you for this title. Love you guys for being here. I got to be honest, guys. We're not even a week removed. Paul Scheer responded, by the way, and said, yes, it's settled. The comedy goat, Paul Scheer himself, responded to this and said, yes, it would change his perception. If the Dallas Mavericks did for you guys last year, and it did for some people, but I would say that looked like more of a missed opportunity because if Kawhi's healthy in that series, I think the Clippers obviously win against Dallas. But here's Paul Scheer weighing in, saying yes. This is very interesting. This is quite the development. Now, ultimately, does this cure your pain for the Clippers season ending? Hell no. Of course not. I'm not trying to make it seem like everything's fine. I don't want to do the whole naked gun scenario. Nothing to see here when explosions are going on in the background. Please disperse. It's not that type of thing at all. But I'm interested to hear different people's opinions on this because I'm getting, a lot of people saying yes. Hey, I'm not denying that I wanted Denver or the Rockets. I'm not. But if Denver, I also said Denver could win that series in 6 games, and I wasn't overly cocky. You're saying like, oh, the Clippers are definitely going to win the series ever. I said before the series, Clippers could win in 6, Denver could win in 6. It's that close. And I kept telling you about championship pedigree and how much that means. And people in the comments section, there's this guy named Mark who's been going after me for that and saying like, how can you say it's championship pedigree? They only won once. You don't have to be a dynasty to have championship pedigree. You don't. You have to have a ton of experience and a ring. I don't have one. Denver has grit. They have toughness. It showed against the Clippers, and now it's showing against an even more inexperienced team. Granted, a more talented team than the Clippers, but a more inexperienced team. I wasn't nearly as loud as Dime. I wasn't saying any of that stuff. I said straight up Denver can win the series in 6. Go check the tape. I did 213 straight shows here on Clippers Talk. You come for the king, you best not miss. All right, I'll slow my roll now. This is interesting. How does it sound, by the way, guys? I'm testing out these new headphones. That's part of the reason I wanted to do this. Just got them today. They're called Turtle Beach. I like the name. I'm a big Ninja Turtles fan. I guess they're big time gamer headphones. But when Big Mike came on with me for that preview of the final game of the season between the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors, I was like, damn, Mike sounds really good. And so then I asked my cousin, what was he using? Apparently, he had these headphones on. So I'm going with them. Giving it a shot here. M is saying, no, it doesn't make us look good. It just makes it hurt more. We had a real chance to win it all. You're saying if the Clippers, let's say Denver goes to the NBA Finals, they take out OKC, they win the next series against the Golden State Warriors or the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they go to the finals. Are you going to then say the Clippers were the second best team in the West because they lost to the first best team in the West closely? Is that what the argument is going to be? Dan M said they sound pretty good. I'm not saying this dulls the pain. This ain't Neosporin. The gauze ain't thick enough for the wound that we have right now. It has been less than a week since the Clippers got bounced. And the way they did in that game 7, I'm in pain still. This is why I wanted to talk to you guys tonight, because it helps to be in community. It helps to be together with things like this. But this is also about how good was Denver really? if they go on to the Western Conference Finals, if they take out the best team in the league record-wise in the Oklahoma City Thunder, how good were they? And does that tell you something about the Clippers? Or is it a matchup thing and transitive property is something you have to bring into account? And maybe, that's not the case in this scenario because it's so matchup dependent. And you can't just say, well, because the Clippers took the Denver Nuggets to 7, and then Denver beat OKC in 6 in a hypothetical. That means the Clippers would have taken out OKC too. That's not how it works in the NBA. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. It's not always like that, It's matchup dependent. But like some people are saying, Andre said it definitely does. Like the Clippers, they lost that series against Denver in many ways. They lost that series. They should have won. Denver earned it. I'm giving them all the credit in the world. They were the tougher team mentally. And look at Aaron Gordon hitting that huge 3-pointer. Aaron Gordon is having a run, a great playoff run. Is he the best player in the playoffs right now? Like, it wasn't just dealing with Jokic and Murray. Aaron Gordon, who I told you about. Remember when I said that Aaron Gordon is one of the best defenders on Kawhi Leonard? Well, he also made Kawhi work on the other end. That's the thing. That's the interesting part. He was so physically dominant in that series. At times, he was more physical than Kawhi. It's true. Uh, I don't want that to be true, but I think there's something else going on here where the fact that Kawhi Leonard slimmed down so much, I think rightfully so because of all the knee injuries, but it hurt his chances of competing with Aaron Gordon on the block as much. It took away some of his physicality there. Aaron Gordon is a beast. He came into the last series with still nursing the calf injury that has been going on forever, all season long. And just to prove, because I'm the receipt master here, guys, just to prove to you, just in case you thought I was slipping, just because it's the off season. Here's a tweet from January 13th of 2023. Gordon is really tough on Kawhi, which makes this a scary matchup in the playoffs. January 13th, 2023. Somebody in here, Mike, said, never, that's Kawhi's toy. Should I respond to that? Is he going to come back? That was from 2023. PL said, oh, I know he's still on Twitter. I'm going to be nice and just say, to these people that disagreed with me about Aaron Gordon being really tough on Kawhi. I mean, I try to tell y'all. What am I supposed to do? I don't think AG was the third best player in that series. I think there's an argument to be made. He was the most impactful player against the Clippers in that series. Honestly, he was that good. You could make the argument. I'm not making it because it's different roles and responsibilities, but you could make the argument that he outplayed Kawhi in that series. But he doesn't have the responsibility. He's not seeing the doubles that Kawhi is. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like the same people that say Westbrook outplayed James Harden in that series. Well, the responsibilities are completely different. James Harden is the engine of the offense. Russ is not that. He's a role player. He was great in his role in that series, but much more is being asked of Kawhi and James Harden. than of Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook. So, false equivalency, I don't know. How do you guys put that? Not exactly analogous. Not a fair parallel. Mark Dagnall is now at the podium. They're down 2-1. They're in trouble. SGA took some shots late. They were not great looks, I have to say. The Thunder and their inexperience are being tested right now by a team that Clippers lost to, and we all said they should have won that series. Well, if Denver goes on to beat Oklahoma City, it's going to take, for me, it's different for everyone. I'm not telling you guys how to feel about this. I just asked the question earlier. I was interested to see what people thought. When I asked the question on X, at Follow Anime, if the Nuggets make this a long series, which it will be, or actually win it against OKC, maybe, would that change your perception of how this Clippers season ended? That's what I'm asking you guys. That's what I want to know. Because for me, I got to be honest, it would. It would take some of the sting out. It would confirm some of the things I thought about the Denver Nuggets. Some. Is it still going to be disappointing? Is it still going to be heartbreaking? Yes, of course. Would it take some of the sting out? Yeah, if you lose, it's the same way I said going into that series. I said going into that series against Denver, look, if you lose to the best player in the world, in Nikola Jokic, and a team that was less than 2 years removed from winning a championship, I'm not going to say there's any shame in that. Now, then we contextualize it and look at the way the Clippers lost. Could have won game 1, could have won game 4, didn't show up for game 7. That changed the level of pain I had from losing that series. But if Denver beats OKC, in some ways that will make it a little bit less painful because you'll be able to say Denver is good enough to compete, apparently. All that talk about them and the turmoil going on in the organization, well, the Cronkies were right to make the move they did right before the end of the season when everybody said it was crazy. I think we can already confirm that. I think we can already confirm David Adelman's going to be the head coach of the Denver Nuggets. That's over. It did light a spark with this team. They show up. They show up in big moments. Mio said SGA had an abysmal fourth quarter. He did. He took some really ill-advised shots. D. Damari said, I don't think it makes the Clippers look better. It's like 50-50 because it's really matchup dependent. It is. It doesn't mean transitive property is going to work and the Clippers would have beat OKC if they beat Denver. It doesn't mean that. Well, it does say something. Serby said OKC needed this game because Denver going to blow them out game 4. Prediction: if OKC wins game 4, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. They could still lose the series. Ray said Clippers are champions with Bronny as a starter. Is that a timeout? Is that my first offseason timeout? I think it is. You guys, yay or nay on that? Where are we going on that comment? I don't love it. Shaft 9000 said Shea smiling walking off was weird, and OKC have still never won anything more than a round 1 series. Yes, you can make the argument the Clippers have made it further since the trade. OKC also has a very large window. If OKC, I'm going to make an underrated point here. If OKC loses this series, That might be worse for the NBA, actually. OKC losing would have the NBA and the rest of the teams more worried. You know why? Because OKC has all these young guys and draft capital to go out and better their team significantly. They're running a proof of concept test right now. If they lose, they're going to start dealing some of these draft picks. They're going to make their team so good and so unbeatable, it might start to feel like the Warriors with KD. Would OKC bring back Kevin Durant if they lost this series? I don't mean to go all hot takes with it, but I'm telling you right now, if you're the rest of the league, you might want OKC to lose this series or not, excuse me, to win this series. It's late. I wasn't planning on doing this. I'm telling you guys, Mio sees the vision. I expect them to trade for Giannis or KD this offseason. They have the assets to get anybody. They could make a Godfather offer. They can. Dan M said if OKC loses this series, it will be a generational choke job. No team that has won above 68 games has ever lost in the second round. Is that true? Makes me think of Dallas losing in 2007 in the first round, winning 67 games to the We Believe Warriors. I'll tell you what, if that guy says it again about the Bronny thing, we can go off season timeout. The MVP is a regular season award. We're not doing this. But yeah, there's a lot on the line right now. I'm guessing he's going to receive the MVP when they get back to Oklahoma City for game 5. Is Jokic going to have the same look on his face that Hakeem did when David Robinson got the MVP? Is he going to use that as motivation to punk him? Aaron Gordon is so good. He's incredible. Serby said Clippers losing to Denver, if Denver wins it all, just means Denver is the best team. But does that mean the Clippers were the second best team? Now here's the thing. If it takes Denver 7 games and they beat OKC and it's a close game 7, then you can still make the argument OKC was the second best team. But let's say Denver won this series in 6 games. Then could you say Clippers were better? It's all matchup dependent. But Dan M says, I would say that it should make Clips look a little better, even if they lose. They did. Denver being competitive. Oh, even if Denver loses, Denver being competitive with a 68 win team is really impressive, even if they lose. Chunk said, I think it confirms we're a legitimate contender level, which reinforces running it back, filling in weak pieces. I think it would be a pretty easy sell job if Denver went on to win it all and beat OKC that, hey, the Clippers, they just need to retool, do some tweaks around the margins, and they're in good shape. If Denver really went on to win it all, I think that's an easy way to give Lawrence Frank in the front office full permission to run this back and for fans to be excited about it. Even if they're competitive. Well, what if they lose to OKC in 7, Denver? I'm telling you, I'd feel a little better. I would. It doesn't replace actually winning the series against the Nuggets. Don't get me wrong, guys. We're looking for any wins we can get, though, right now. We're still in pain. It's been less than a week. Trust me, I'm with you. I'm not trying to put lipstick on this pig. I'm telling you, it's Sydney Sweeney or whatever. I'm not trying to cover up for what happened to the Clippers in that game 7 because that was miserable. And Lawrence Frank addressed it on Monday and said how embarrassing it was. And I loved hearing that. Alfonso said, can't help thinking the Clippers would be killing it right now. I need a what if episode of Game 7, an alternate timeline, an Earth 2 Game 7 episode. I mean, I thought about posting the entire first quarter on Twitter of Game 7 and just being like, how do we go from this to losing that game and being down by as many as 35? Because they did look good in the first quarter, guys. There were so many things going for them. Terry said, I think OKC's offense is not that consistent. I trust Nuggets offense better, and their defense is way better than regular season. Who told you guys coming into that series, I did not buy that the Denver Nuggets were truly 21st defensively. I knew that they could turn it up. They could ratchet things up in a playoff series. I told you that in the series preview. They're clearly a much better defense than 21st now that they got into the playoffs and care. Serby said the refs tried hard to help OKC tonight. The announcers on ESPN were the biggest OKC cheat leaders ever. Scott said OKC getting outcoached in crunch time. Six Abs saying OKC fumbled. Ray said, I love cats. Now I think I love you. We got Shadow lurking in the shadows in the background here. Shadow's about 9 months old. I got her up in NorCal. Randomly, my cousin was like, as I was up there for Christmas in Carmichael, visiting Big Mike, as you guys know. And randomly, they asked me jokingly, hey, you want a kitten for Christmas? It's like, actually, I do. And now I have another one because I felt so bad for Shadow whenever I left. And so I got Tuca who's walking around here and they just play and chase each other all day. And then they chase me and I chase them. And it's a never ending game of chase. This could get interesting though. This could get feisty. This is good content. Shadow, who's that? Who's that? This is Tuca, named after Panther great Biaka Batuka. They're both girls. I was told if you get two girl cats, that may lead to some fighting. I didn't know that initially. Then I checked like a Reddit post afterwards and I was like, oh, shit, did I mess up here? But they get along well, luckily. I'm a great pet owner. That's bottom line. Johnny said, Adam is on his Silence of the Lambs. I cooked his liver with fava beans. You mean with talking this low? Clarice. Dan M said, yep, it's true. Oh, no team that has won 68 games or more has lost in the second round. I don't know how exactly to read that. Okay, oh, Jonathan Ing's in here. OKC definitely looking super inexperienced, but I can't believe the Nuggets playing like a flip the switch team. I can. I told you they have championship pedigree. Go back and look at some former episodes. All these people arguing with me, getting mad at me for saying they have championship pedigree. But what about Kawhi? What about Norm? I'm not discounting that. But that was in 2019. Theirs is in 2023 and with the Denver Nuggets. Kawhi's, they had that in Toronto. I'm not saying Kawhi loses that, but they've had it more recently. How old is SGA? He's 27. Amin said, I hope OKC loses so that whenever I go on Twitter, I don't have to be reminded of that SGA trade. There is that. That would be another reason you'd feel good if Denver, I guess, won this series for some people. Scott said, what if we trade Kawhi for all our picks back? No one is giving 5 first-round picks for 34-year-old Kawhi, who's had 3 knee surgeries recently. I hate to break it to you, Scott. Andre said, you mean, yeah, you think OKC would trade all the picks back to get Kawhi? Like, that's what they'd do if they lost this series? I think they'd go get Giannis or KD. Andre said, and Jokic had a bad shooting game. He did. Ray said, it means the Clippers suck. Well, that's not very nice. If you lose to a team that goes on to win the championship, does that mean you suck? Chunk said, Adam, can we talk about Brown locking up SGA more than my holy King James Edward Harden Jr.? He's not washed and coming back for vengeance next year. Yeah. Brown's done a good job on SGA. Denver was better than a lot of people believed. Serby said, yes, that means the Clippers gave them the best run. Let's say if Denver beat everybody else in 6 games the rest of the way, and the Clippers took them to 7, even though game 7 was not competitive. Never saw it coming, said, what's all this transitive property rationale? It's all we can do right now because we hit the offseason and I'm in pain. Amin said, when Gordon hit that typing shot, I yelled, F you, Aaron Gordon. Shaft 9000 said, my cat Boo looks just like yours, Adam, but fatter. Mine's still young. It can eat some more lasagna like Garfield and get fat. Tom Rain said, not a goal to look better. No one's arguing that this makes up for the Clippers losing to Denver or something if Denver goes on to win it all. That's not what we're talking about here. Trust me. I'm just saying, would you feel a little bit better? Because right now, it's been a rough week for us. OKC is going to have to start paying their young guys soon. The window isn't that big. That's true. The windows in sports are never as large as you feel they are initially. Like I remember people when Seattle won the Super Bowl over Denver, and everybody said, "Oh, they're going to win like 2 or 3." I guess Kansas City has done it, but windows typically are much tighter than people realize. Terry said, we lost to ourselves. We should take game 4 with a sense of urgency and win the series in 6. I agree, Terry. That's why I picked them in 6. I thought they would win game 4. Thought they'd get the split, win both at Intuit Dome, lose game 5, win game 6. I am with you. I talked about the sense of urgency after game 1 before anybody was bringing it up. Planet said, better question, in my opinion. What if Shea has a bad to below his standard series versus Denver? How would that make Kawhi's series versus Denver look in comparison? We'll see. I mean, that would make also that all is wrapped up into this question because I think if they lost this series, it would have to be Shea having a bad series. Look at how cute Tuca is here. Hey, Tuca. Ghost said the weak pieces are our stars. Kawhi and Harden did not look aggressive most of the games in the series. Running back with any hope of a contender is fool's gold, which is Clippers fans' criteria. But, what if Denver wins the series against OKC? Well, don't you think when you see SGA getting locked up late in the game by similar defenders that were guarding Kawhi and James Harden especially, wouldn't you feel a little bit better? Shaft 9000 said, we already know we have contender ability. Whether we have the guts is another story. That's fair. You got to be mentally tough. Mr. Pink said, offload Bogey and Powell, keep Nico, and try to get Giannis. Mr. Pink, Mr. Steve Buscemi, they're not getting Giannis. The Clippers aren't getting Giannis. I hate to break it to you guys. There's, I don't know, half the teams in the NBA at least have better offers for Giannis than the Clippers do. We can stop that right now. In fact, if people keep bringing up Giannis in here for the Clippers, that might be a timeout situation all offseason, like an automatic timeout, because it's not going to happen. I mean, said, I'm sorry, I'm not here to give false hope about Giannis. Let's be logical. They don't have nearly the assets that other teams would. Why? How could they get Giannis before OKC could, before the Rockets could, before? Come on, there's countless teams. Brooklyn, like everybody has more assets. The only way would be if Giannis said, "I will only go to LA," and therefore other teams wouldn't make offers. But the problem with that is, let's see how many years he has left on his contract, because he doesn't have a no trade clause, so he can't block any trade. And then it just comes down to, would other teams just call his bluff? Like, just trade for him. He's under contract. He's under contract through, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. You'd at least have him for 2 more years, but he has a player option for the 27-28 season. So that might scare some teams for trading for him if you know you're only going to get him for 2 years, but that's a lot of time to sell a guy on staying. Yeah, I don't think the Clippers are getting him, guys. Serby said, I was at game 4 when Gordon got the dunk. I knew that game was the series. We were not winning game 7 in Denver. Amin said, I just hope if Norm does come back, I hope he does not run an offense because it's nauseating to watch. I mean, running an offense wasn't really his thing now. Hotline Bling is a good song. Said AG was the X Factor and still is. The best there ever was. How does that go? The old Bret Hart. He was my favorite. I was still kind of a casual. I really just liked playing the video games. My parents wouldn't let me watch WWF. They definitely wouldn't now. I was a young boy. Let's see. Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there was, the best there is, the best there will be. Hulk Hogan claims Bret Hart stole this line from his promos. Oh. Bret turned it into the best there is, the best there was, the best there will be. That he stole it? Interesting. Maybe he put Hulk Hogan in a sharpshooter and said, give it to me. I must have this slogan. Thank you, Jonathan Ing, my moderator, unofficial moderator. Chunk said, we get another ball handling backup. Zoo another year better. Year more of chemistry. Maybe a nice pickup for Norm. If healthy, we have a legit chance against anybody. End of the day, that's all you can ask for. I agree with this, Chunk. Art H said, what is your ideal offseason in terms of trades and free agency? We got all offseason to talk about that. I mean, they need a backup center that's better, a backup point guard that's better. And if that backup center could also shoot well enough to be able to play some 4 next to Ivica Zubats, well, that would be ideal. Just to quickly get that out of the way. But those guys are extremely hard to find and very expensive. Maddox said, who said the Clippers are champions with Bronny as a starter? Deca Fantastic said, Adam, call me crazy, but I think bringing back Ben Simmons should be the number one offseason priority. The number one offseason priority? All right, yeah, I'll call you crazy. Six Ab said, and I like Ben. Six Ab said, do you play video games, Adam? What do you think of the GTA 6 new trailer? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't played since Vice City. I had a PlayStation 2 with Vice City, which I hear is a pretty legendary GTA game at this point. I had to stop playing video games because I always put it like this. If I had 9 or 10 lives, if I had 9 lives like a cat, like Tuca here, may Tuca live forever. If I had 9 lives like Tuca, I would have 1 life where I spent just in a basement playing video games because I love them that much. But I realized I probably don't have 9 lives. So I got to prioritize other things, sadly. RB said Clippers could have swept the Nuggets instead. They could be the 2025 champions. They could have swept them. I don't think there was any chance they were sweeping them. Johnny said, "Can we at least get Lauren on a regular seat? On the regular next season?" I think so. She'll definitely come on during the summer here. Jay said, "Been telling my son I'm going for the Pacers, but today I said I'm actually hoping the Nuggets win it all." And he looked at me in shock and said, "No, Dad, no, Dad, you can't do that." So you understand the question here. That Mexican Nar said the streak won't die. The streak did die on Tuesday. I didn't do a show on Tuesday. I didn't do a show on Wednesday or Thursday. The streak is dead. Is this a new streak? I don't think so. This was just something interesting after tonight's game. If I can find ways to shoehorn or dovetail other NBA series into a Clippers conversation, relating it to the Clippers, like this game tonight, I'll do it. I'll do shows. I'm also looking for a job. Chunk said, also, I'm not saying this for certain. You guys know SGA more than me, but he reminds me a lot of PG. Maybe he'll get over the hump, but my radar on that is starting to ring a bit. He doesn't remind me that much of PG, to be honest. Look at this guy, girl. Is this the content you guys need? Cat videos? They get a lot of clicks, right? Maddox said, Thunder should go get Kawhi, Adam. Somebody else already said that. Trade Kawhi to get all your picks back. Mexican Nar said, let's see if Harden comes back. He does have a player option. Justin said, does this make the Clippers look better? Nah. Means we missed our opportunity for an exciting deep playoff run. I can understand that too. Some of you are going to take it as, no, the Thunder were beatable. If we just beat Denver, we could have beat OKC. So I get that part of it as well. There's two sides to look at this thing. Michael said, go Clippers. Time to move on. This to supporting the Dodgers. No thanks. Otani had an epic 3-run home run at the top of the ninth with the score tied at 11-11. Dodgers, for the most part, they're Laker fans. So no, I'm not a Dodgers guy. I'm from NorCal. I'm a Giants guy. Padres have showed more love to the Clippers. Shaft 9000 said, got to fix the crazy pitching spin increase first. Tuco, what are you doing? Amin said, honestly, looking back, we didn't deserve to win the series. The amount of times that I caught Norman Harden ball watching was appalling. Michael said, as long as some former Clipper gets a ring, it's all good. Hartenstein, SGA, Westbrook, DJ, Sam Cassell. You really want to think it's all good if former Clippers that they let go get a ring? That would make you feel better. That is interesting logic. I don't know if I'd feel better if I saw SGA getting a ring. In fact, I'd be in a lot of pain because he was traded, and that's all we're going to hear about, Michael. That's how most Clippers fans feel. Lauren said, Clippers need a Gordon Caruso type of player. Clippers do not have a reliable second or third option. I mean, Zoo is a top 3 option, guys. Whether you want to put him second or third. Jonathan Ing said, I wonder why the players agreed to this CBA. The framework of it is just utterly dumb and awful for team building and keeping teams together. Yeah, a lot of people complained when the deal was done. Damien said, Nuggets are great. Got to show them respect. A lot of people in here said Clippers in 5. Some said, I could see them sweeping. Serby said the Clippers need a small forward. Move Powell's shooting guard, Kawhi back to small forward. You mean a power forward? MJ said John Collins is a free agent, some kind of sign and trade for Powell. So it doesn't work to trade a sign and trade for a guy who's a free agent. You mean if they did a sign and trade with the Clippers using John Collins? Here's the thing: John Collins is a player option for 26 million, almost 27 million. If he opts out, he's going to be expecting that much annually. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. Would you guys want to do that? If it entailed giving him that much money and giving up Norman Powell, I'm interested. I always have been, but it's not that easy. Maddox said, Adam, what do the Clippers need to do this offseason and get next year to make playoffs? They need to tighten up things with a more consistent backup point guard that can relieve James Harden of having to do so much. Damian said, makes me mad we let Hartenstein go. It's not just SGA. Damian said, Clippers need to get bigger, younger, and tougher. MJ said, Steve Adams is a free agent. There'll be a lot of teams going after him. That Mexican Nar said, as much as I would love Norm and Dunn, as much as I do love them, I think you package them this offseason. Norm is on an expiring contract, and I don't think we'd be willing to pay him more than now. If Norm wants more than 2 years, meaning if you can't have him on a 2-year deal where, and really, he's extension eligible. He has this year is his final year before he becomes a restricted free agent. Well, they're trying to line things up so guys have contracts that are expiring after this year or after next year with Kawhi and assuming James Harden re-ups for another 1-1. Norm wants more than that. I think there's a good chance Norm gets moved. I said that Monday on the show. Damien said we were too wimpy and not fast enough. Okay. Jonathan Ing said Bret Hart was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He was badass while wearing pink. Badass. Amin said that game 4, I was fuming at Norm because how the F do you get ball watching like that? And he mentioned it in his post game interview after game 4. There's the little things which made me laugh. He was responsible for that game winner. Kinda. I don't think Norm should have been on the floor, in my opinion, at all. He messed up with his lack of boxing out being out there, but I just wouldn't rely on Norm to be on the court for that possession. Mr. Pink said, Adam, I like Nas Reed. Great. Any chance he can be a Clipper? Big physical dude and can shoot threes. Everyone in the league likes Nas Reed, including the team he's on now. Good luck getting him. Nas Reed, I think, does he have a player option? Either he's opting out if he does, because he's going to get paid a boatload. Yes, he does. Player option. Okay, so he exercised, a player option of 15 million. He's going to opt out and make over $100 million. The only way they could get Nas Reed is if James Harden didn't come back. MKXLNT, because that would open up $35 million. MKXLNT, Sam, hang loose. Dog8 said your new mic is the Jokic of headphones. Is that good? Damien said we need a 4 so we can move Kawhi to the 3. Yes, but not just a 4. I'm going to explain this for the millionth time. A 4 who can defend, rebound, and shoot. Those guys are hard to find. You need a 4 that can shoot because he needs to be able to play next to Ivica Zubac. If he can't shoot, then you're going to have PJ Tucker-like issues, hogging the paint. The new GTA is set in Vice City. Is it really? Maddox said, Adam, have you seen BJ Matthew lives talking bad about James Harden? Yes, because that's every live from BJ. Junk said, not relevant, but I've been researching people to go after. Missed my 2 biggest hopes are Bobby Portis or Patrick Williams. I don't hate those ideas. I don't think those are crazy. Bobby Portis would be a really nice get. He's also everybody wanted him at the trade deadline. I'm like, why would Milwaukee trade him? He's a fan favorite. He's good. He was a part of their championship run. Now, you can argue they could lose him for nothing now, I guess. But even if they were going to trade him, they could have got more than what the Clippers could have offered. Yes, he's about to be an unrestricted. He has a player option for next year of 13 million. He will not opt into that, and he's going to make a lot of money. He and John Collins and Naz Reid all have player options, and they should all, I'm sure their agents will tell them this, opt out, become a free agent, especially with this free agency class not having a lot of upper echelon free agents. Those guys are going to get paid handsomely. Maddox said, Adam, can the Thunder get Kawhi, though? Just curious. Could they trade a bunch of picks for Kawhi? Sure. I don't think they're going to. I think they would go after Giannis before Kawhi, guys. If they're going to do a crazy move because they lost, let's say hypothetically they lose this series, they could go get Giannis. Why would they get Kawhi? Thomas said, I guess said some emoji stuff that doesn't really translate on here. Gonna go beast mode revenge. Okay. Serby said, I hate the Dodgers, the Raiders, and the Lakers. There you go. This whole, hey, we're all Dodger fans. Yeah. Like, look at me. Dodger fans boo Clippers fans every chance they get. I stopped rooting for the Dodgers due to that. I know a lot of people feel like that. They're Lakers affiliated. That's at least the vibe that I get. Denver offense is so good. Denver OKC was a good matchup. Minnesota Houston was not. Kevin Richards said, I like Bobby Portis when you get a tough guy. I don't think he leaves Milwaukee. Probably not. Unless they lose Giannis and blow it up. But you don't want him to leave for nothing. And they've done him right. He may at least give them a sign and trade if he left, get something for him. If Denver wins, I'm getting a burger. Amin said, I feel like people get me confused when I say we can't win with Harden on our team. What I mean is that we can go win a playoff series and at best conference finals, but I'll never believe in a championship. I think that's fair. Harden has to get over the playoff lows that he's had in elimination games. Lauren C said outside of Zubats not scoring 20 a night in the playoffs. Oh, I think Zubats can in the right matchup. Against Denver, it's much more difficult because he has to guard Jokic so much. If Vita Zubas had the right matchup, like I think against OKC, Zoo's getting 20 a night. Six Abs said, how to get excited for the next season, Adam? Well, one way is by the title of this episode, where, if Denver goes on to win this series against OKC, were the Clippers really that far away? What if Denver gets the finals? Were the Clippers really that far away? Or they just lost to the second best or best team in the West? Were they really that far away? Tighten things up on the margins, get a better backup center, find a four, get a point guard to help decrease the load for James Harden and what he has to do offensively, and you're in good shape. Mean said I had zero faith in Harden in the postseason. I've watched all his playoff games since 2015, and he always folded. I wouldn't say always. Yes, they aren't just targeting like they literally have traded for Malcolm Brogdon before. So anyone saying, I know Law said they're targeting him, it's like, well, yeah, I'm not discrediting Law. Like, it's just, we've seen them actually trade for Malcolm Brogdon. So, of course, it would make sense. Mean said, but I still do believe we definitely should bring Harden back because without him, Zoo and Norm would have had the career years. No, they wouldn't have. Not even close. Damien said, thanks for all your hard work. This appreciate you. Damien. Master of the Keys said, give up, guys. We're running this back with the same team, unfortunately. I mean, I think Norm could be traded, and I think they're going to improve around the edges. I do. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. I mean, said a lot of the turnovers that Norm has remind me of the turnovers that Russ had when he was with us. Art H said, I predict we're getting Malcolm Brogdon and Brooke Lopez in free agency. Orange Frank likes Malcolm Brogdon a lot. Yes. What gave it away? The fact they traded for him? Master of the Keys said John Collins. Maddox said Adam, not just James Harden. BJ been talking bad about that's he always does. That's nothing new. Apparently you haven't listened to his shows much. That Mexican Norris and Miles Turner as the backup big. They're not going to be able to get Miles Turner as a backup big. He's an unrestricted free agent playing for a team in the second round that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. How do you think you're going to tell him, yeah, hey, come play for the Clippers. You're going to be our backup big. That's their selling point for him as an unrestricted free agent. Oh, also, we need you to leave a team that has gotten further than we have the last 2 years. Like, do you all think before you type sometimes? I'm sorry, but Sanzi Aldama, maybe Obi Toppin. I think he's under contract. Did they just sign him to a new contract? Jonathan, I do not know why I need to bring up his name. Dear God. Tyus Jones, sure. Dennis Schroeder, sure. I like them both. This is all assuming, yes, James Harden resigns, which is likely. Do I think they win this series? I don't know, but it's going at least 6. How do I know that? Because even if OKC won the next 3 games, that would mean they had won in 6 games. And I don't think Denver is going to win the next 2 straight to end it in 5. If they did, we have a conversation. Jonathan Ing said I adopted the Padres since I am now an SD. I grew up rooting for the Angels, but they keep disappointing me. Ownership, kind of important. Maddox said, man, my Clippers didn't win the chip. Hopefully my New York Liberty wins the championship. My KC Chiefs. Yeah, KC Chiefs, they're doing just fine. Mio said Zoo could have dropped 20 plus on Jokic if they gave him the damn ball. Didn't exactly get it to him enough. Maddox said, Adam, 2021 was our year to win the chip, most likely if I didn't get hurt. No shit. Thank you. Thanks, Maddox. I'm sorry to be so frank and so blunt, but no shit. Really? You think? Serby said Dodger and Laker fans clown on us. Even at Intuit, people yell slurs at us walking into the game, crossing the street. Well, that's not cool. We obviously have had thick skin as Clippers fans for some time. Mr. Pink said, Adam, how about Holmgren and Hartenstein, Julius Randle, or Vucevic? Looks good, and they have incredible stats, exactly what we need in terms. Mr. Pink keeps bringing up dumb trade. How are they going to get Chet and Hartenstein? Vucevic is not a good defender at all. He's pretty empty with the numbers. What? Nikola Vucevic? Goofy said, hey, Adam, do you think of drafting? Well, I don't know. I didn't watch enough of college basketball to really have a firm opinion past Cooper Flag. College basketball is a tough watch. I'll do more of a deep dive coming up. I mean, shit, Adam, in your opinion, why do you think Harden folds in big games? In my opinion, I think it's his play style. Probably started with that, but now it's in his head to some degree. Master of the Keys did bring up something important when it comes to Malcolm Brogdon. He's over the age of 30 and he is extremely injury prone. But if you can get him for a minimum, it's not a bad get. Bunit said, is Malcolm Brogdon a free agent? I'm not trading for him. He's injury prone. I believe he is a free agent. Let me check again. Yes, he's a free agent. He was just making a 22 million, by the way. more than Norm. He's 33. We can get a 23, 24, 25-year-old in the draft that is ready to play now with size. Can we? It's one of those draft years. We'll see. Chunk said, I think Malcolm Brogdon and Bobby Portis are the missing pieces, or at least the type. I agree with that. Chunk's definitely spitting. They're the archetype of the guys you want to bring in. Terry said, Adam, do you think we will keep our 30th pick or trade it for a rotation player? Depends on, yeah, I could see it being dangled and traded. Because honestly, next year, Jordan Miller and they're going to bring another young guy. And we got to see what Jordan Miller and Kobe Brown can really do. It's their third year. Lawrence Frank said Monday. It's all about that third year. That's your make or break year, sink or swim year for these young guys. And they're going to be 26 by the end of next season. They're not even that young. Maddox said, Adam, if Kawhi would have stayed, okay, Maddox, I'm just done. Thomas said, do you think Harden going to opt out and test out free agency or opt in and play his last contract? If he does play his last contract, will Clippers negotiate for a new contract worth more than $36 million? I think the most likely scenario is he opts out and re-signs for another 1-1 or for 2 years at, let's say, 2 years, $80 million. So he gets a bump up in salary from 35 to 40 million a year. I think that's the most likely scenario with James Harden. He's not going to opt in. He is going to be a free agent and most likely re-sign with the Clippers for 2 years. And it's going to be at a higher annual salary than it was at, which is why he would opt out of the 35 million to get to 40 million a year over 2 years, total of 80 million, something like that. Maybe he gets 50 million for 2 years, 100 million total. When he said, did you see the John Collins Clipper report? What Clipper report? The fact that everybody keeps talking about him? There's no report. It's not even the offseason yet. Oh God, why does Maddox do this all the time? He always asks me these random questions, and it makes me think he's a bot. When he said Kawhi already back in the lab, he will have a better year next season. He has an off season to shoot, and he will have great efficiency next year and maybe average 25 plus. He could. He also needs to be careful because apparently the training could contribute to the knee flare up. Master of the Keys said Sexton for Bogey and Kobe in a second. I don't think I like Sexton, but I don't think Utah would do that. If you listen to me during the trade deadline this past year, I talked about Colin Sexton a lot. He also doesn't have the positional size that Lawrence Frank likes. He's undersized. Jonathan Ing said Vucevic, as Kenny Smith would call, players like Vucevic are looters in a riot, good stats on bad teams. Mr. Pink said, Adam, what's a power forward you like? What's one that you think we have a chance of getting? We'll get to all of this coming up. Rugby said Jokic is a serious basketball player. No shit. Rugby said John Collins would be great, but the Jazz are hard to deal with. He could just be an unrestricted free agent. Like, if he doesn't opt into his player option, the Jazz have no say in the matter unless he wants to do them a solid. Rugby said, Adam, do you think Patty Mills is coming back? Of course, Rugby would ask that. Probably not. I don't know. Amin said, I feel like Harden should take a step back. You get it, but a step back. Because he's James Harden, I get it. But let Kawhi be more in control, because if we're living and dying by James Harden, it's going to be the same thing over and over again in elimination games. Right. He did have 13 assists, 2 turnovers. I'm just going to point that out. No, he did not take enough shots. I mean, yes. Thomas said, can Ben Simmons go to see? Okay, we're not going to do that. Rugby said, I listened to the whole Lawrence Frank talk. He mentioned in year 3, you got to show that you can do. Otherwise, you're gone. That is the case for Kobe and Jordan Miller. Yep, just talked about it. I know the chat's a little bit behind, or I'm behind the chat, more accurately put. Rugby said Adam knows a lot of basketball. Reminds me of Ryan Hollins. I've talked with Ryan Hollins before. I've done a segment with him before. I know Ryan Hollins. He's, he's a cool guy. Rugby said Harden would be a great third option. He can't be playing 46 minutes a game, in my opinion. I agree with that. Johnny said, no, I don't feel better about the Chicken Nuggets winning. If anything, more salty on the fact that that should have been us, damn it. I understand that point of view. I think this is Keo. What was our friend's name? I think Deep Night at the US. Are you sleepy, Adam? I hear ASMR. What's ASMR again? We've had this conversation. I'm having a lot of deja vu here. Rugby said, I think Harden stays, either accepting the option or 1-1. You're right, Adam. Rugby said, I watched John Calls a lot because Patty was on the Jazz and he's a really good player, but won't be easy to get from the Jazz. Ainge just hard to trade with. He could just be an unrestricted free agent. Amin responded to Rugby and said, I feel he should let control the show and not play like he's the main character syndrome, with him thinking he's the greatest of all time. I don't know what that means. About James Harden. Rugby said wasn't playing like he's the GOAT. He was tired of game 7 for sure. I mean, James Harden played more minutes than anybody in game 6. He should have been tired. He also should have got more shots up. Adam A, no shit, needs to be on the soundboard. Rugby said playing like the GOAT is taking 30 shots. Rugby said Jazz say no to that. The Sexton trade that was proposed here. Sexton is consistently a good player. Watched him a lot with the Jazz too. He's really efficient. Great 6-man type. On ball, off ball. When he said those 3 seconds we got from the Bogey trade can get us some good pieces low key, those 3 seconds are not nothing. Bogey also has an expiring contract. They got a lot of their guys are on expirings this year and next year. Bogey not expiring this summer, but the summer after, I should probably say. When he said, do you think Harden would opt out and take a pay cut? Probably not. He's already lost out on some money in his career. Kevin Richards said there's something to be said for how long the Nuggets have been together. Jamal even referenced it in his post-game interview. Gee, I kind of referenced it before the Clippers played them in my series preview. Master of the Key said, I think LeBron joins the Clippers in the summer to form the old Big Three. I don't think so. His son plays on the Lakers. I think that's kind of a big deal. Thomas said, can the Clippers try to run more fast break by rebounding and starting to get easy basket before defense sets? This requires more young legs. They actually were like top 10 in fast break points this season, I think, at the end of it. Let me see. They already made that a point of emphasis last year. They had more hit-ahead passes. That's why they brought in DJ. They did do more of that. I don't know if y'all watched. Let's see. So they ended up at 15.7 fast break points per game. That's 15th. They were top 10 throughout most of the season. It's still like a point more than they were at last year in fast break points. Maddox said, I'm not weird. I'll call you at Clippers Talk one day. You'll see a difference. Okay. I wait for that day. I long for that day. Johnny said, appreciate you and the content though, Adam. You're the most consistent Clipper we got. Chill. I am one, but one small instrument. Do you remember that? Y'all know about Goodbye Sky Harbor? If you know about that song, put it in the comment section. I think it's from the greatest album ever. I'm not going to tell you the band, not going to tell you the album, just the song name. Don't look it up. Don't cheat. Rugby said what the Nuggets winning shows is that the margin between the top teams in the West is very close. But we had always said all season OKC was a class above everybody else, a tier above everybody else. Don't know if that's the case now. Lawrence Frank said the West is a bear. It is figuring out whether it is a polar or a grizzly. What's worse? Because I think polar bears are Like you think they're cuddly, and they're actually like some of the most dangerous. Mr. Pink said Harden should really work on his physicality this season. His ability to drive to the paint has reduced. Yes, it's ages, but his physicality can improve. I think his paint touches were actually pretty high. When he said, "What backup center you want, and do you think the front office takes that position seriously this offseason?" I think so. Keo? Was it Keo? I didn't think you'd still remember me, to be honest. It has been a while. Tell me your full name and where you're listening to us at. Amin said, not trying to slander Zoo, but I feel like he tends to get lazy, like not boxing out. He led the fucking league in rebounds. Okay, you make up for it here. Overall, he is invaluable to this. The only reason he was down with rebounds at times in this series is because he had to guard Jokic on the perimeter all the time and other players on switches. He led the league in rebounds. He was not lazy at all. Adart said if OKC loses this series, we get at least a better pick, which is good. I don't think so. They get pick 30th already. That's been decided. And I think next week is the draft lottery. The Clippers have the 30th pick, guys. Means that he provides a lot for us, especially at the rim. Oh shit. When he said, "Are you open to trading Norm?" Yeah, I'm open to it because he probably should get paid a much longer, much higher paid contract. That the Clippers, it's not in their timeline. I don't know if that's a marriage that's going to work moving forward. Norm should cash out, get a four-year deal, like 100 million. Honestly, he deserves it. Master of Old Keys said the Clippers' curse will end when Sterling goes. It's not a curse, guys. It's hard. One team wins every year. Mr. Pink said Harden that takes an offseason seriously as Kawhi will average 25 points a season, and that will have us finish second if Kawhi plays a season. Kawhi's not going to play a season. If he plays 60 games, there's a good chance they could have home court. All you need is a top four seed. Get that home court. But yeah, I would prefer top three. Oh, I see what you're saying. Polar bears not as intimidating, but they are killers. Thomas said I like Santi Aldama. He's like a younger version of Batum. Not defensively. I don't think from what I've seen from him defensively, I don't know if I could say that, but I like him. Thank you, Booney, responding to the Vitsa Zubats lazy part. I mean, come on. He led the league in rebounds. I guess everybody was lazy if he's lazy. Doesn't box out all the time. Come on. All right, guys. It's late. I appreciate y'all on here. I want to check out my new headphones. Now I want to go back and listen to how it sounds. And I thought this was an interesting topic after what occurred tonight. Again, in the comment section, if you missed the live, let me know. And also, goodbye, Sky Harbor. Let me know about this question. If the Nuggets make this long series, newsflash, it's going to be, or if they actually win it against OKC, would that change your perception of how this Clippers season ended? That is the question. We'll talk more about all the other questions about this offseason because we got time. We got time, plenty of time. Tonight, though, I just wanted to get your opinion and get the pulse of Clipper Nation on how you would feel if the Denver Nuggets win this series. Because it's going to be a long series now. That's for sure. I don't think they can win the next two and take out OKC in 5 games. I'd be surprised by that. That would be a short series, technically. I think it's going at least 6. But if Denver actually won the series, for me, I wouldn't feel as bad. Everybody's got a different feeling about it. Put your opinion down below in the comment section. I'll check them out. Appreciate you guys. This has been another edition of Clippers Talk with Adam Osland.